really quickly want to just talk about courses, sort of what courses that I've done before getting a job, and what courses are out there, and maybe whether they're a good idea or a bad idea. So for me, the courses that I did were the STCW, the Eng1, and I also had my Powerboat 2 license. Like the STCW and the Eng1 are absolutely essential. You just can't really get into the industry without them at all. The next step up from there in terms of sort of minimum requirements, I'd highly recommend getting like a Powerboat 2 license or a PWC or both, just because they're going to stand out a little bit more than someone who just has STCW and Eng1, so it gives you a bit of a leg up. In terms of like other courses, I haven't been on any other sort of yachting courses per se. I know that there's a really in-depth deckhand course that you can go on. I was advertised that, and I think it was offered at the time around £2,000, and I didn't have the money at the time, so it was kind of a no-brainer. But I feel like that might not be as necessary. Like for me, it was obviously down to personal preference, but for me, I prefer to get out in the industry and actually try and do it, and maybe like even struggle to start with, and then build up experience from there. But if you wanted to do a course, if you had the money, if you weren't too confident, like that's something that you could do to start with. Again, that's if you want to get on the exterior side of things. There's obviously courses for interior, but I've no idea on those, what those entail. So, and also for me, I've been sort of sailing and had a water sports background from a very young age. So I have dinghy instructor, windsurfing instructor, things like first aid, which I think gave me a little bit of a boost. But again, they're not actually yachting qualifications, but they do help a little bit because they let someone know that you have sort of experience with being on the water and things like tying knots, or something. You just be a bit more familiar with the general sort of boating techniques, or boating in general. You're a bit more familiar with the whole concept, as opposed to someone's just completely fresh. It's just about reassurance, because if someone wants to employ you, they kind of want a bit of confidence that you're gonna sort of know what you're doing, even if you are fresh to the industry, and they don't expect a high amount, but you're just more employable basically if you do have that added skill set. However, that's not to say that if you don't have those, that you can that you won't get into the industry or you find it necessarily harder. It's just something on a bit of paper at the end of the day that could potentially give you a leg up. That's all it is. It's nothing set in stone. So if you don't have that, or you don't even plan to get that, then don't worry. There's plenty of other ways to get a job besides having extra information on your CV. And obviously it's really easy for me to say that because I have those qualifications and I can just say, oh yeah, it's easy or whatever, but I really do believe that it's more about the timing and the opportunities, and just putting yourself out there is how you're going to get the job. Anyway, so moving off track a bit, so some of the other courses, I wouldn't really step up any more than that, especially if you're like just going into the industry, because you might not know exactly where you want to go. If you want to pursue it as a career, you might not know what route you want to go down. Now, if you want to go down like the deck side, and you want to go, if you want to work your way up to be a captain, for example, there's loads of courses down that line and you'll be instructed down that way. You could get lucky in that your boat could even pay for your courses. Now, these courses are like super expensive, so if you get your boat to pay for the courses, then that's another expense off the mark. And again, I'd encourage you not to do so many courses up front. Gain some experience, try and get employed, and then try and get on the courses as you go up, if that makes sense. So you kind of want to spread the courses out over a long period of time if you're looking for a long-term plan in the super yacht industry. I'd recommend doing that. If if you literally want to come into the industry for like a year, you want to maybe even do just a season, obviously there's no point doing all those courses, trying to get a job as soon as possible, as quickly as possible and get out. Like, I don't want to recommend that because it's kind of bad for the industry, and I've heard it a lot that people don't like crew coming in for just like a season. Like it's not really frowned upon, but it kind of is at the same time. It's just like you're only in it for the money, which means you don't have any longevity, and people don't really want to hire someone like that. That being said, things can change. If you initially wanted to do it short term and it ends up being a sort of career choice, then fair enough. And the opposite way around, if you thought it'd be your career and you start off and you're not really liking the feel of it, then you can, if you want to get out, then you can as well. So it's nothing set in stone, I guess. So yeah, just to recap, I think get your STCW, get your Eng 1, and then highly recommend getting Powerboat 2 or PWC or both of those. That's just my recommendation. I'm sure a lot of other people would say different things. Thanks so much for watching these videos. I'll see you in the next one.